Hey guys, it's your buddy Choppadong here, lead content and contributor at DFSArmy.com, and I wanted to show you a little bit about ownership and a little bit about baseball and how baseball works, because I think a lot of you guys are frustrated and you think that you need to build sneaky lineups to win, you need to build heavily stacked lineups to win. I don't think people understand how random baseball really is and how a lot of different theories have a shot. There's no cookie cutter approach to it whatsoever. And I think this is a good way to demonstrate it. But if you're looking for this type of coaching and you're looking for this type of advice, then I ask you to take a look at dfsarmy.com. Use the coupon code CHOP, CHOP, for a 20% off discount, and get in here and start asking these questions. Start, kind of rattling my brain around. I'd love to help you. I'd love to talk to you, make you a better player, as well as would all of the other coaches that we have for every sport, not just baseball, NASCAR, football, basketball when it comes back online, all of it. That's what we do as a community. That's what we love to do, is help you guys get to be better players. So give that a thought while you're walking through this, and of course like and subscribe the video down there at the bottom. Ring the notification bell so that these videos drop to your phone when you get them. What I would do is I would dive into just the easy contests. I always take 50, 60 lineups and toss them into the nickel just for fun, because I like to play with the optimizer and throw stuff around. And last night, the winner had a score of 292.6. Second place, 292.5. How pissed off is that guy? 285, 283, 281, 28. Okay, so a lot of high 200 scores. And we'll walk through these top, say, 5 or 6 lineups. I want to show you how different they are from lineup to lineup. I mean, don't look at this one. This wasn't even my best finish, but whatever. 50 lineups, some of them are going to suck. I did not do necessarily that well in this contest. I'll tell you, it was a net loss of, I don't know what, 50 lineups. It's like 250. I got back like $1.75. I mean, that's also, actually, come to think of it, that's also, percentage wise, that's not a bad loss. That's pretty decent in terms of what you can normally expect to happen. You are on quite a few of the right situations. You just didn't piece it all together, and I'll show you that as I go through here too, as I was kind of looking through these scores this morning. Bieber was the pitcher to have, of course. I did not have a lot of him on my sheet last night, but if you look down here, Oakland, Seattle, White Sox, Philly, it's not stacked. There's like 2 Oakland guys, and that's it. Not stacked, and it won. Okay, if you hit all the one-offs, good for you. But generally speaking, stacking is the way to go in tournaments. How do I know that? This is a one-off type of lineup, and yes, it won, so one-off lineups can win. But if we go to the second one down, there's Bieber again, but now here's LA, 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 Boston, 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 so it's a 4x3 LA Boston stack, or Boston 4, LA 3. Come down here, and I was on both Boston and LA last night. Wrote them down on my notebook. Had exposure to both teams, just didn't have the right exposure. Third place, LA, 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 Boston, Boston, LA. So 4x2. Where are we at? Dylan here. Let's go down this one. I mean, congratulations to Dylan, right? LA, Boston, Boston, Philly, Philly, Boston. We had a couple of coaches on Philly. It's a little mini stack there, and it's a 3-stack Boston. So how chalky was Boston? How chalky is LA? It seemed to be the common teams, right? So, don't worry so much about what teams and where do I get my ownership and all that jazz. The chalk still wins. Play the best plays for yourself. Yeah, there's not a lot of leverage necessarily in playing these, but if you hit the right, parts, you're going to win. You're going to do just fine. So Oakland was another one that was on my list. I was really heavy on Oakland last night. Didn't help me out too much, but Boston and Oakland, with our optimizer at DFS Army last night, I actually had to force Boston and Oakland into a stack to make it work. But I did, because I wanted a piece of Oakland that bad. LA, Boston, Minnesota. So what have we seen? Oakland, Minnesota, mostly Boston, mostly LA. But so, you can put a little lower owned stack in there. Boston was a little lower, or Minnesota was a little lower owned. Oakland was a little bit lower owned in there with a chalky stack. And, look, what was Benintendi Bradley? Was this an 8-1-2 or something like that type of stack? That's, and then what Ayers is the bottom. Polanco probably, I don't know where Polanco hit last night. Donaldson's in their heart of their order. Kepler was the leadoff guy, so that's like a 1-2. I don't know. It might be another wrap stack. Maybe the guy double wrapped it. I don't know. Let's do one more. Boston and LA with a Minnesota one-off. I mean, are you getting the theme? There is no, what do I do? 4x4 stack? 4x3? 3x? There is no formation, okay, for any slate. There's just not. Anything can win. Now, if we did a study across the tournament, pretty much say top to bottom, and took which ones are getting way up there, we're going to find that the bigger stacks typically do it, because when a team like Boston scores 13 runs, a team like Minnesota scores 9, LA score or 10, a team like LA scores 9, yeah, you're going to see the more pieces of that you can have, the better off you're going to be. But you still have to have the key piece. You needed a Kepler if you had Minnesota. You needed the guys that hit a couple of home runs that had really, really big games, because that's how it was going to do it. But you also needed the pit. You just needed all to come to Muncy hit 2 home runs. You needed all to come together for you to win. If you're a little bit shy, you're just not going to win a 100,000 person GPP. It's just not going to happen. Now, what do you do going forward? You're going to dig into our tools. You're going to play within your bankroll, first of all, but you're going to dig into our tools, and you're going to do things. I mean, I'm working with some guys on the ladder system. If you want to research that, DFS Army ladder system is a good Google to hit. Read that article. It's free. I may even throw the link in the comment section here. It'll teach you how to kind of build the base of your budget, your daily budget, and get it set up to where you're frequently cashing and building a lineup, building a bankroll, and then you can play around with a small portion of your money, with these GPPs and hope to get lucky one day. That really takes the pressure off of your lineup building. It takes the pressure off of the results-oriented focus that you might otherwise have. But then we're going to dig in, we're going to look for what teams should we stack against what pitchers, and we're going to pick them, and we're going to throw them in the optimizer, we're going to shuffle them up, and we're going to run it out there again. Unless you're doing a full 150 max and can take little bitty pieces of every combination you can think of, then you don't care if the Miami Marlins go off tomorrow, because you've at least got a few lineups with it. Most of us tend to kind of cut that down a little bit, and instead of stacking 30 teams, we try to maybe stack, say, 6 or 7, something like that. And we're going to run our lineups out that way, trying to get as many combinations as we can, in case, like the nights like Boston and LA. Well, I had a lot of Boston and I had a lot of LA, and I didn't do really well because I didn't have Bieber as my pitcher. And so those lineups were, stopped a little bit short. But the fact is, I had a lot of those. They were on my list. They were in my stacks. And I had a lot of variations: Boston, Oakland, Boston, Minnesota, LA, Oakland, LA, Houston, whatever. Those were the combinations that were set up to do pretty well last night. They just didn't all come together for me in a 100,000 person GPP. So that's going to happen night in and night out. Try not to hang your hat on the actual results as much. Don't try to hang your hat on, do I need to stack 4x2? Do I need to go all one-offs? Whatever. Just try to take some stacks, some healthy sized stacks, and try and knock those teams down and be right with the teams. When you log into your phone or your app or whatever, and you notice that the Dodgers blew up for 9 runs, you should be pretty happy. You picked the right team. You may not have the right pieces of it, but you picked the right team. You see Boston blew up for 13, and that was like your heaviest stack on the night in your optimizer. You should be happy. You did right. You did the right thing. That's what you're trying to do. You just have to do it over and over and over again until that combination hits with it all. And then is when it starts to come together, and you'll get those results 1 or 2 of these nights. But when you're playing for a nickel and you're only putting $2.50 out there, I mean, all you got to do is win, $15, and it makes up for a week of losing. And that's going to happen. I mean, my God, win 100 or $150 on a really, really good night, and it makes your season when you're only putting $2.50 into this tournament at a time. And that works when you scale that thought up for every other contest out there. Leagues are easier to hit. 50-50s are easier to hit, and that's why we play those more often, and we can win those more often. They just don't pay as well as these tournaments. So you use both of these approaches, a cash game approach and a GPP approach, together. And now you play indefinitely on your bankroll of your cash games where you're just kind of treading water, grinding up a little bit at a time, nice slow burn, but then you take a little bit of what is left of your budget and you throw it at those big GPPs in hopes that you really hit the big return on investment prizes and make your season. That's how you play DFS in a nutshell. And again, if you want that type of advice, you want that type of help, you want to learn to kind of get your head straight or whatever in this frustrating game that is daily fantasy sports, then come and get some coaching. DFSArmy.com, coupon code SHOP, CHOP. Love to talk to you, love to work with you. Hopefully I see you on the inside.